Well, good evening and welcome to Queer News Tonight. This is the world's first and only LGBTQ plus daily evening television news. We're broadcasting live and then we're available on demand and available on all smart televisions, including Roku, Apple TV, Android TV, Amazon Fire TV, Twitch, YouTube, and Facebook. It's time to queer up the news. It's Tuesday, October 3rd, 2023. We are live and literally out of the closet and into the headlines. So many of your important stories we're going to tell this evening on Queer News Tonight.
This is the world's first live daily LGBTQ evening news show, literally out of the closet and into the headlines on Queer News Tonight with Al Ferguson.
I'm your anchor at Queer News Tonight, Al Ferguson, and this evening we bring you the news of and a perspective representing the LGBTQ plus community from South Florida, America, and across our planet.
This is the world's first and only unedited live LGBTQ plus evening news show. Whatever happens unique in LGBTQ plus news, you will see it and hear it.
HOTspots Magazine, Happening Out Television Network, is a nonprofit 501c3 media company in the same models of PBS and NPR, but designed for the LGBTQ plus community. Our mission, support the 10 pillars of our community. We want to inform and educate the key issues of our Black community, Latino, lesbians and queer women, trans, student youth, seniors, HIV/AIDS healthcare, business, social justice, and faith. Help us support our community.
We are part of one of the largest LGBTQ plus media companies in America, HOTspots Magazine and Happening Out Television News Network. Our magazine is celebrating 38 years of the LGBTQ plus experience, and our television news, talk, and entertainment shows support our mission to educate the LGBTQ plus and broader community.
Well, let's welcome anchor Bonnie Builder. Bonnie is the premier South Florida bodybuilding drag queen. A recent graduate of FIU, she comes to life with a microphone and a spotlight. Welcome, Bonnie.
Thank you, Al, for having me, and thank you for letting me sit here, less glam but still gorgeous. And I want to say, Dad, I love you very much.
Less glam but still gorgeous. That should be on shirts. Merchandise. All right, let's welcome John Hayden, a journalist for 26 years. He is now senior reporter for Out South Florida. You can follow him on Instagram at John Hayden Journalist for breaking news and live reports from community events. Welcome, John.
Thank you, Al. So great to be here. Lots going on in our community. Lots for you to check out in Out South Florida this week.
And let's welcome anchor Dr. Edward Summers. Dr. Summers currently serves as a primary therapist and program director at Eye Care Treatment Center in West Palm Beach and primary therapist at United Recovery Project in Lake Worth Beach, Florida. Dr. Summers was also the founder and CEO of a New York-based nonprofit, the Thinkubator Incorporated, an innovation and workforce development organization. Welcome, Dr. Summers.
Thanks, Al. Thanks for having me here. It's good to be here to tell the news, and I'm looking forward to tonight and the conversations to be had.
We all are. We are the reporters for Queer News Tonight, and this evening we begin with the queer headlines. The LGBTQ plus community in South Florida and across America is diverse. Our community across the world is vast. And here are the bullet points of the queer news for today, Tuesday, October 3rd. Let's begin by queering up South Florida and Florida. The National LGBTQ Task Force Gala celebrates the resilience of our community. You're invited to the premier annual celebration of South Florida's LGBTQ plus community known as the National LGBTQ Task Force Gala. This 27th gala celebrating 50 years of the National LGBTQ Task Force will take place in Miami Beach on October 14, starting at 6:30 p.m. The theme for this year's gala is Forever Strong, Unapologetically Queer. Music to my ears. The 2023 gala will feature iconic performer Latrice Royale and award-winning actor, singer, filmmaker, writer, and dancer Dylan Burnside as MCs of the event. The National LGBTQ Task Force Gala will honor LGBTQ plus heroes and support the work of advancing equality for all LGBTQ plus people and their families. The attendees will experience the spectacular evening featuring a red carpet entrance, cocktail reception, an expansive high-end silent auction, a formal dinner, live entertainment, and an awards ceremony over dessert. And then the Afterglow after party hosted by Athena Dion with music by DJ and producer Hector Fonseca. The funds raised for this year's gala will fuel the organization's work to advance the rights and security of LGBTQ plus people across the country, including the Task Force Queer the Vote campaign, which seeks to get progressive-minded voters to the polls in 2024. A significant portion of the proceeds will be donated to the South Florida community through the LGBTQ plus Equity Fund. Tickets and more information can be found at thetaskforcegala.org. I've been a number of years. It's a very important date on the calendar for LGBT in Miami Beach, but really for all of South Florida. The task force is a flagship of our advocacy organizations in the United States, but certainly here in South Florida. It's a fun event, but more importantly, it's an important event because in all of the wining and dining that we do at the event, it really makes critical contributions to our political advocacy. And I don't know, I just remind all of you, 2024 is pretty important to us. And the National Task Force is really one of the organizations front and center in our fight for equality in the community. And it helps so many of our nonprofit organizations here in South Florida.
Yeah, I think it's so critical, this event, because it does raise money for a lot of organizations here in South Florida. It has that equity fund. It's had it for about 2 years now. So many different organizations in Miami-Dade County area benefits from that fund. Those funds go to support critical programming. There's so many great organizations, including Pride Lines, including SAVE, and other organizations that are really doing some critical work in our community, especially given the political climate that we're faced here. So this is a great event, great stars, great people that it's hosting and supporting and honoring. So I definitely want to be there. So it looks like a great event.
You know, our good friend of the show, frequent panelist, Jeff Oliverio, is the co-chair of the event this year. And he was also the co-chair last year. And I was talking to him about what's sort of changed. Well, you know, because he's been able to see it, you know, from his perspective for 2 years now. And he said it's the rapidly changing political landscape and rapidly deteriorating political landscape for LGBTQ+. And the situation has probably not felt this urgent since Anita Bryant brought her rhetoric to Miami-Dade in the 1970s. It's, yeah, pie girl. But no, it is very important that we support this, and you should really read more of my interview with Jeff. It's going to be in this week's Out South Florida.
I also want to say this event is important, but it's also going to be very glamorous. So you definitely want to go. Athena's going to be a part of it. She just finished her residency in Greece.
Yeah,
which is
Mykonos.
Oh my God!
I'm getting ready to go.
Girl, you are?
I am.
Oh, that's right. We're going. I forgot. And then after that, the Afterglow party, which is also going to be produced by my friends House of Trouble, Jorge and Hector. Love you guys. It's going to be like the who's who. Make sure you wear gold. Make sure you look sexy and cute, and also bring money. Drinks are included, so like spend your money on everything else. Yeah, we need it.
That's exactly right. And let's give a shout out. I think that there is there's an while she's recognized for many, many great things, advocacy of hosting an event like this, Latrice Royale is not, you don't first and foremost think, of that connection. I love it because in her advocacy and her great accomplishments as a queen, a RuPaul Drag Race participant, she's going to come hosting that event, and she's going to make it very clear that she's as relevant today as she was in that season, and she's going to prove how large and in charge.
Bold and beautiful.
Exactly. I can't wait.
Well, next, let's queer up education. Florida and Kentucky continue to lose teachers over anti-LGBTQ+ policies. In Florida and Kentucky, teachers are struggling under the weight of the most extreme anti-LGBTQ plus education laws in America. And some of them are leaving, either their profession or their state. Nick Clarkson, a transgender man who's been teaching for 13 years, resigned last month from New College in Florida after they voted to eliminate the gender studies program where he taught. Policies enacted this year by the state's Board of Education would keep Clarkson from telling students the pronouns that match his gender identity, which he's used all of his adult life. These policies will also stop him from using the correct restroom on campus. Florida and Kentucky are the only two states that ban classroom instruction on sexual orientation or gender identity all the way through 12th grade. Both states have passed anti-LGBTQ plus education laws that advocates see as the most extreme in the country, largely due to how far-reaching they are compared to other states. As both states face high teacher shortages and turnover, most educators say they plan to leave due to the political climate. Jason Glass, who left his post as Kentucky's education commissioner last year, believes that his state took a page out of Florida's playbook on anti-LGBTQ plus education laws and made it worse. This story, it's just the natural evolution of a story that's been going on for a couple of years. And, I mentioned that Kentucky and Florida are the only two states that banned discussion of gender identity through 12th grade. We're seeing it in our college levels, too. At New College, they've canceled it. I don't know what's happened at Florida State, University of Florida, and our myriad other state-sponsored colleges through the state, but I can't imagine there's going to be much difference. It might take more time. But I think we reported, a couple months ago, that to start the school year, New College had lost like 25% of their teachers. That's a literal brain drain.
Yeah, it's a challenging environment. And I recently was just at a meeting up in West Palm Beach and around in August. And it was a group of educators who were just, LGBTQ. We come together to talk about issues in our community. And literally half the room said, I'm going back to Jersey after 20 years. I'm going back to New York. I'm going back to Chicago. It is amazing the amount of exodus that we've seen because of the laws that have been implemented here. Literally one lady cried, similar to Clarkson's story, cried because she's identified as a female for all of her life, all of her adult life. And now all of a sudden she has to go to a male's bathroom. She has to identify as a male. She's not a male. She is a female, and it's a shame because the shame is really on the fact that our students lose out. Our students lose out on good quality educators who care about educating, who care about the development of the mind. And that's what education is about, the development of the mind. To teach young people how to think critically, how to analyze, and how to live well-balanced lives, right? And so we're going to be missing out on those significant amount of educators who are leaving our state to go back home to states that they don't identify as their home state, because Florida was their home state. But it's not anymore because it's not gender affirming. It's a shame.
Yeah. I want to speak on 3 of my closest friends who are educators in Florida, and they're all super duper queer, like, hey now. They are very passionate educators. All they want to do is help these little snot-nosed kids, like, be productive members of society. And they keep getting beat up every which way. It's the local policies. Have you guys heard of Libs of TikTok?
Oh yeah. What a joy and mentally sound place that is.
Oh my, they are physically unsafe, my friends, and all of the queer educators here in Kentucky and elsewhere. But they just want to go to work, do their job, maybe just regularly talk about their husband and the relationship and whatever, just be like normal people. And they can't do that because of these anti-queer legislations and these people attacking them and us for just being us.
When you said Libs of TikTok, I'm sorry, I kind of misheard you. Did you mean Moms for Liberty? I'm sorry, I misheard you.
Yeah, your hearing's going.
Proud Boys,
right?
Because they're all the same thing.
Yeah.
They're terrorist organizations. In Florida, if you're a state, especially talking about education, that says only Florida and Kentucky, you're in bad company. And the only thing is, I don't know which state's in worse company. I don't know if it's Florida in company of Kentucky or Kentucky in company of Florida. To the quantify of the exodus from Florida, it's very sad in terms of what we're watching, but let's quantify. To the point that you make of having so many people leave, return to New Jersey, in line item funded teaching positions in Florida, we are without 7,000. 7,000 funded teaching positions in Florida are currently opening or are open. And what that means is that they're trying to waive rules where you don't need an education certificate to fill these 7,000 seats. Or they're trying to find business people that have retired, and they draw on their 20, 30, 40 years of experience in life, in business, and bring them into the school. Or I guess, if you're picking up garbage or you're a dog catcher, come on into the schools, you can teach. That's the consequence of what we're watching in Florida. One last thing about this. When you have the Secretary of Education in Kentucky say, I would be worried in our state because I think we've taken a page out of the governor's handbook in Florida and implemented it here. It's an all hands on deck red alert. Even the Secretary of Education of Kentucky said they're exporting some virus to us that is dangerous. That's what's going on in education. Very tragic.
Well, next, let's queer up gay culture. HOTspots magazine honors the women of LGBTQ plus history. Coordinated by Equality Forum since 2006, LGBT History Month celebrates the achievements of lesbian, gay, bisexual, and transgender icons each October. LGBT History Month provides role models, builds community, and makes a civil rights statement about our extraordinary national and international contributions. This year, South Florida's trusted queer magazine, HOTspots magazine, is honoring the women of LGBTQ plus history in its new issue, which is on stands now. A few of our queer women covered in this issue are Marian Alsop, the first female conductor to lead a major orchestra in the United States, Britain, Austria, and South America. Madeline Davis, an American LGBTQ plus activist and a founding member of the Mattachine Society of the Niagara Frontier, the first gay rights organization in Western New York. Alana Dykewoman, whose debut novel was the first to be identified as a, quote, lesbian book by the New York Times. Roxanne Gay, Brittany Griner, Tessa Genserer, and more. This is the time to know your community better than before. Don't forget to grab your issue of HOTspots magazine on stands now. So, we love women. Maybe not in that way, but I think we all love women. We appreciate the contribution. Shout out to Fay What. We love you, girl. We love all of our queer women, all of our ally women who support us, who protected us. Back to when we were in grade school, and for some of y'all, that's like forever ago. They were like our first protectors. I'm talking to you and you. They were our first protectors. They
Shady, party
us.
of one. Your table's ready.
They were our beards sometimes. We love queer women. We love women. And we appreciate you all so very much. So from one queen to another, thank you so much.
One of the things that I think is interesting is, do we think, and I ask all of you, do you think, we're in the first days of October. October is LGBT History Month. It is identified as National Coming Out Day. Comes up next week. Do you think that there's as much conversation about the history of our community as there should be? Do you hear a lot about it?
I don't think so. I posted something on my LinkedIn and all my social media pages once the month started, but I don't think there's enough conversation. I think we have more conversation around the month of June when Pride's happening. That's sort of like our month. But I think that we need to have more conversations. And, clearly, HOTspots magazine has identified some really remarkable women to honor. I think we need to do more of that, right? We need to talk more. We need to have more discourse around it. And I pledged all month to feature someone in our community that maybe is an unknown hero, unspoken hero, where I feature on my social media page really to talk about the contributions they've made to our community. We don't talk about it enough. And we need to talk about the contributions that we made.
I love that we have 4 viable, strong, LGBTQ plus centric media organizations in South Florida. Of course, us here and our sister publication, HOTspots Magazine, which is doing great, OutClick, and Out South Florida. We generate the discussion, but we need to export the discussion. We need to have it out in other places, like in schools. But of course, and June's a bad time because it's summer break or they're all in finals. So, I mean, there's not really a lot of teaching going on in June.
Parade or...
And we're in parade mode.
Yeah.
And we're in parade mode. But I want to give one more shout out to our girl, Fay, because HOTspots, because this weekend at the HOTspots Dennis Dean Art Gallery, we're going to have a breast cancer survivors and allies art exhibit, and Fay will be hosting that. So there's a lot of conversation out there. Like I said, we just need to export it.
One last thought before we move on about our history. It's not only recognizing the person in this month, it's identifying important milestones and moments in our history. I love the idea that you took in LinkedIn the opportunity to recognize, and you make the commitment to continue to do that through the month. I did a similar thing in taking a note of Senator Feinstein's passing. And my, a lion for LGBT through history from San Francisco, etc. But the attention that I drew to her passing was her video being the first voice in the world to say that Harvey Milk had been killed, and showed that moment in the 1970s of our LGBT history. That's part of our history. It's a sad moment of our history, but the passing of Harvey Milk as the first elected official in the United States is important to our history. And I had the opportunity to use Senator Feinstein's voice in her passing to represent Feinstein as a thank you to our community, but also what she was doing. And ultimately, Feinstein said repeatedly that Harvey Milk's shooting fundamentally changed her thinking about what she thought about the LGBTQ community. That is LGBT history, and just one of thousands of examples of what all of us can do this month if we commit to it. And I hope we will.
I hope so too.
Yes, sir.
Now, let's queer up religion. The Pope looks for ways to bless same-sex unions. Responding to 5 conservative cardinals who challenged him to affirm church teaching on homosexuality, Pope Francis has suggested there could be ways to bless same-sex unions. This happened ahead of a big meeting where LGBTQ plus Catholics are on the agenda. The Vatican published a letter Francis wrote to the cardinals on July 11 after receiving a list of 5 questions, or dubia, from them. In that, Francis suggests that such blessings could be studied if they didn't confuse the blessing with sacramental marriage. New Ways Ministry, which advocates for LGBTQ plus Catholics, said that the letter significantly advances efforts to make LGBTQ plus Catholics welcomed in the church. The Vatican holds that marriage is indissoluble union between man and woman. A result, it has long opposed gay marriage. But even Francis has voiced support for civil laws extending legal benefits to same-sex spouses. And Catholic priests in part of Europe have been blessing same-sex unions without Vatican censure. The 5 cardinals who have challenged Francis's inclusive approach belong to conservative prelates from Europe, Asia, Africa, and America. They have asked Francis to simply respond to these 5 questions with a yes and no. I think the story is very interesting. I think Pope Francis, definitely a transformational pope, gets it, right? He gets that one, it's going to take time to eventually get the church to eventually bless same-sex marriages. But I think he's on the verge. He's in some ways endorsed it, same-sex unions, same-sex marriages. I think that the pressure that these 5 conservatives are pushing him towards is not positive for the church, right? The church is going to end up in a place where nobody's going to be in the pews, right? If we continue to outcast individuals in our community. But I think the Pope knows that the church has to evolve. If the church is to survive, it has to evolve. And he's fundamentally taken up this science of muddling through where he's not there yet. He knows that our society is not there completely yet, but he slowly has made gestures towards embracing our community. And I think that's the right approach. We can't push it on people. We have to slowly get them to there. And that's what he's doing.
What does evolve mean, though, for, I hear you. Okay, I'll keep my comment short. But what does evolve mean when you're looking at an organization through the lens of 2,000 years of history? And it has prided itself on moving at glacially slow paces. And I wonder, is this a step forward or is it separate but equal? It might be a little bit of both, and we might have to accept what we can get and hope that the Pope can appoint lots of cardinals going forward.
That plane.
Yeah.
If it was separate but equal as a transition in the Catholic Church, especially coming from the Vatican, would we be satisfied as an interim step? Is it all or nothing, or are we satisfied with that step?
I'm not satisfied with that step. We went through it before. For gays, we went through it in the 2000s, and of course, obviously, there are other groups, Black people especially, who lived it for the first 300 years of our existence. Women,
their right to choose over their bodies.
So, I mean, do we reject it outright? No, absolutely not. I think we embrace it, but also it's a slippery slope, because now if the church puts its imprimatur on this, then will other countries say, okay, we're also going to stop short of marriage? And these are countries that could be on the border.
And I heard Bonnie growling.
Yes.
So whenever we bring up a topic like this, my first statement is, it sounds like the entire Catholic faith is pulling a target right now, where it's like, let's get on the gay train real quick. Not fully though. Like they're not a whole person. They're still 3/4 of a person in our eyes. But like let's throw them some crumbs. And I don't tolerate crumbs. I know we need to take the steps and appreciate the steps, but they've had the opportunity to make these steps decades ago, and we're just getting it now. As young as I am, I don't have time to just sit around and wait for crumbs. Like you stand for us. You go to the Pride. You want to be the most liberal Pope we've ever had. If you want to do that, then let's really get into the Catholic faith and everything that's going on in there, sir. But before we get to that, I'm not accepting crumbs. I'm not. Yeah. Either go all the way or not at all.
You know, it's interesting. Very young, because he's called us all old in the show.
Yeah.
I realized that.
And so,
surprised you heard it.
The backhoe's outside. The backhoe's outside digging our graves right now.
Only 25.
The hearing joke, I heard that too.
25 years retired.
Of the reaction of young LGBT. But let's for a second look at old cisgendered white men.
Looking.
When I hear this story and I think about what's going on in the Vatican and the Pope, I automatically I think of Whoopi Goldberg in Ghost, and her reaching in and going to Pope Francis, "You're in danger, girl.
You in danger, girl."
And the reason is because 5 old white ghosts are chasing Pope Francis, and if they can catch him, they're going to kill him. These 5 old retired cardinals that have nothing better but to screw up the entire world because they have no relevance left. They're ghosts. They're dead in the Catholic Church, except they happen to be cardinals. And as a result, they're going to hold on with their fingertips no matter what. You're hearing young reaction, because your reaction is not a gay reaction, it's a young reaction. Young Catholics feel the exact same way that are straight about the reaction on gay and women. And this is a reaction of what I jokingly say is the Catholic Illuminati. And these 5 priests are part of that secret society to hold the world back. You can't do it. Governor DeSantis, you can't, oh wait, I'm sorry, made a mistake. You can't do it. But the Pope is in danger, girl, because the reason why he's having trouble responding in the way he has is because he doesn't want to be killed. And doesn't want to be killed by the old ghosts that want to kill him, for sure.
Next, let's queer up South Florida and Florida. Lineup announced for Riptide Music Festival sponsored by Visit Lauderdale. Greater Fort Lauderdale is known for its party spirit and love of great music and food. The region hosts many popular festivals to entertain the queer community. Continuing this tradition, Riptide Music Festival returns to Fort Lauderdale Beach December 2nd and 3rd with a lineup led by influential rock duo The Black Keys, fast-rising rap country crossover Jelly Roll, Jack Antonoff's Bleachers, and hometown favorite Flo Rida. This year is different because from last year's lineup, because this year we've got the hottest crossover stars in music, giving devoted attendees the acts they love and welcoming new festival goers with the chance to experience a wide variety of performers. 2-day passes start at $109 and are available at riptidemusicfestival.com. The festival is just one example of the great entertainment that continues to make Greater Fort Lauderdale a popular destination for visitors and an exciting place to live. Visit Lauderdale, everyone under the sun. Of course, Riptide it's a fun event, but it's also not necessarily LGBTQ centric. It's for everyone under the sun. But Flo Rida, who's headlining this thing, is not only popular locally, he's very supportive of the LGBTQ plus community. He's played the AIDS Walk, also down at Fort Lauderdale Beach. So this is going to be a good weekend. It's going to be a fun time, and that's December 1st and 2nd. So most of the country, December 2nd and 3rd. But most of the country will be not at the beach and will be wearing scarves, gloves, and a light jacket at least. So it's going to be a great time, and you can share your selfies to all your friends up north and go, "Hey, what are you doing?"
Is that how we'll say it too? Hey!
Hey!
All right.
And where I'm from, New York, they'll have their big trench coats on, their scarves on. It'll likely be
Not
snowing.
windbreaker.
And no, not at all. But it looks like a great event. And quite frankly, this is what is attractive about living in Florida, is to have the diversity of talent and just opportunities for, to be able to hang out on a beach in December. That's what attracted me here. I love it. But I look forward to the event as well.
Are you saying this is nicer than the Bronx?
Well,
Riptide, something that would be fun for you?
I'll be there.
Yeah.
I'll be wearing a little bit less than this.
Yeah.
yeah.
And, if you want to see some of this.
You know what's super interesting to me about this, and there's 1,000 of these in America, 1,000 of these kind of festivals in America. But this is very, very interesting to me because first, of value. I'm going to a concert that I'm paying almost the 2-day pass fee for this festival for that concert. And I won't say where I'm going, where it has a big, well, let me put it this way. They love guitars. And I'm paying almost the same amount of money for that concert. And I'm going to get to see all of these acts over 2 days. So the value of festivals like this are really, really great. The other thing, and we hit it right on the head, you're on Fort Lauderdale Beach. You can't underestimate the great value of being on the beach in December. It's going to be 80 degrees. It's going to be dry. It's not going to rain. And everybody else all over the country. It's one of my favorite times of the year to talk to all of my former friends when I was directly working with RuPaul's Drag Race and texting them and showing them pictures going, "Oh, this is what I'm doing."
They're going to hate us.
Love it. Love it.
Hate us
Love it.
because we are Lauderdale. I love it. That's why Riptide's a great event.
Now, here's a look at some of the top headlines you'll find in this week's Out South Florida on stands Thursday and always online. This week in Out South Florida, powered by Queer News Tonight. I'm Out South Florida senior reporter John Hayden. In this week's issue, Wilton Manors makes official what everyone already knows. The city is a safe space for all LGBTQ plus people. Also, an influential gay journalist who's been the victim of harassment is violently murdered in his home. And Breast Cancer Awareness Month is underway, and our own Fay What uses her experience to help others survive and thrive. I'm John Hayden. Those stories and more in Out South Florida, on stands and online. And follow me at Instagram at John Hayden Journalist for breaking news and live updates.
Next, we are proud of our special partnership with Sunshine Cathedral, the world's largest queer church here in Fort Lauderdale. Supporting that partnership, we are broadcasting from our permanent set here at Sunshine Cathedral at the Happening Out Television Studios. We broadcast Sunshine Cathedral Sunday International Service at 10:30 a.m.
Well, we finished tonight's Queer News headlines with a segment we call LGBTQ plus 1 Minute News.
LGBTQ plus 1 minute news. Let's queer up entertainment. Queer K-pop group is pushing for social change in South Korea. At a bar in one of Seoul's up-and-coming hip neighborhoods, two voices intertwined in a duet. One was high-pitched, the other an octave lower. But there was only one singer, a 27-year-old named Jungkook. The other voice was a recording made years ago before he began his transition, and hormone therapy deepened his voice. Like many other South Korean singers, Jungkook, who considers himself gender fluid, trans male, and non-binary, wants to be a K-pop star. What makes the band QI.X unusual is that they were proudly out, and still are. They call themselves one of the first openly queer transgender K-pop acts, and their mission has much to do with changing South Korea's still conservative society, as with making music.
LGBTQ plus 1 Minute News. Let's queer up the worldview. Popular queer Iraqi TikToker is shot during anti-LGBTQ plus crackdown. CNN is reporting the death of a popular queer Iraqi TikTok personality who was shot dead in Baghdad. On social media, she was known as Noor BM. The 23-year-old Noor Al-Safar mostly posted short videos showing dresses, hair, and makeup styles, often while dancing to music. Following news of the shooting, many posted comments lamenting Al-Safar's death. An Iraqi security source told CNN that the investigation has started. The killing comes as Iraq cracks down on LGBTQ plus expression and moves to criminalize it into law. Al-Safar had often faced online abuse for cross-dressing, as well as questions about sexuality and gender. In 2020, an interview on Iraqi's Al-Wala channel, Al-Safar said he identified as male who worked as a model and makeup artist.
A popular TikTok personality in Iraq was shot dead in Baghdad this week. Known as Noor BM, the 23-year-old posted videos showing dresses, hair and makeup styles along with dance moves. Noor said he identified as male and was neither transgender nor gay, but his death has been seen as part of a broader crackdown on the LGBT community in Iraq. Well, Waji Leon is a Saudi LGBT rights activist. He told us about how such attacks are sadly common.
LGBTQ news, 1 minute news, let's queer up science. London's Kew Gardens celebrates queer plants in new festival. Kew Gardens, the renowned botanical haven in London, is heralding the arrival of autumn with the debut of a month-long festival titled Queer Nature. Nestled within the Grand Temperate House, this new innovative showcase explores the fascinating intersection between the plant kingdom, fungi, and LGBTQ plus communities. Offering more than just botanical beauty, the festival promises an immersive experience featuring massive floral installations, thought-provoking artworks, and engaging discussions led by queer scientists, horticulturalists, and writers. Queer Nature delves into the historical use of plants and fungi as symbols within the LGBTQ+ communities. The exhibition highlights the enduring connections between nature and the LGBTQ+ experience. Queer Nature runs until October 29th.
We are highlighting some of the incredible things that happen in nature, some of those plants and fungi that sort of challenge traditional expectations, and really looking at the diversity and amplifying queer voices through that.
LGBTQ+ 1 Minute News, let's queer up out South Florida. Openly gay journalist killed in his home in Philadelphia. Award-winning gay journalist and former city employee Josh Kruger was shot and killed at his Philadelphia home early Monday morning. Kruger managed to make it outside to look for help before collapsing. His bullet-riddled body was discovered and taken to a local hospital where he was declared dead. Killer is still on the loose. Kruger reported being harassed by someone he'd never met who was looking for their boyfriend. He also once worked for the mayor's office. Police don't know if the killing is related to his political work, his journalism, or from a relationship. Police say they will look at all possible motives and haven't ruled out declaring this a hate crime. You can go to OutSFL for any developments.
LGBTQ+ 1 Minute News. Let's queer up education. Florida-based street preachers target LGBTQ+ students at schools nationwide. A group of religiously motivated individuals gathered around the Cook Carolyn Tower at Grand Valley State University in Michigan to preach to people passing by about Christian salvation, specifically targeting LGBTQ+ and anti-abortion issues. The street preachers were mostly concerned with individuals who identify within the LGBTQ+ community, calling out to passing students saying their actions and life choices have condemned them in a, quote, life in hell. As a result, the students responded to these street preachers with shouts, homemade signs, and pride flags showing their support for the communities under fire. Students expressed confusion surrounding how the group was permitted on campus without any intervention from the university. Adam LaCroix, the leading member of the preaching group, set up a microphone and multiple tripods to live stream for his ministry's YouTube channel, Team Jesus Preachers. Now, Team Jesus Preachers is a religious organization based in Fort Myers, Florida, that travels around the country to stand on street corners and college campuses to, quote, spread the gospel.
That is today's news for the LGBTQ+ community on the world's first and only daily LGBTQ+ evening news show.
If our community is important to you, share the news with your friends and family. Are you, like most of America, part of our very large television audience watching this live LGBTQ+ news broadcast right now on Roku, Apple TV, Android TV, Amazon Fire TV, and Twitch, which is what I do every time I have to sit next to Bonnie Builder.
Adorable. Queer News Tonight is the only live LGBTQ+ digital television show in the world that is out of the closet and into the headlines. We need your support. If our community is to grow, we must tell our stories and bring them to the attention of the broader world.
This is the only place in the world that tells these types of LGBTQ+ stories in motion and sound. That is the passion of HOTspots magazine, Happening Now Television Network, and Queer News Tonight.
I'm your anchor, Al Ferguson, and on behalf of these LGBTQ+ reporters, the anchors of Queer News Tonight, including Bonnie Builder, Dr. Edward Summers, and John Hayden, we will see you daily at 8 p.m. And to our LGBTQ+ world, we wish you good night.
Good night, everyone.
We are Queer News Tonight, the world's first and only live daily LGBTQ plus evening news show, brought to you from Happening Out Television Network. We operate in the same model of PBS and NPR, but for the LGBTQ plus community. We educate, inform, and entertain by supporting the 10 pillars of our LGBTQ plus community, with more than 100,000 a week watching us on Roku, Apple Television, and other channels. To keep the story going, we accept donations with 100% transparency. Stay updated and live authentically with Queer News Tonight.